I first heard about the old Montgomery place from a faded Polaroid I found tucked inside a second-hand photo album at a dusty thrift shop on the outskirts of town. In the picture, 2 children stood smiling in front of a dilapidated Victorian house, its warped clapboards almost hidden beneath years of ivy and moss. Their faces were smudged, as though something, or someone, had pressed against the surface of the photograph before it was ever developed. In the background, a dark window seemed to stare straight at me, as if alive. The shopkeeper claimed he'd uncovered the photo among a pile of unmarked belongings. Some things, he mused, are better left unexplored. But those words only piqued my curiosity. I'd always been drawn to abandoned places, hunting for history in half-collapsed attics and peeling wallpaper. There was something intoxicating about the silence of forgotten homes, the hushed echoes of lives long gone. When I discovered the Montgomery house was only a couple hours' drive from my apartment, I knew I had to see it for myself. I arrived on a grey Wednesday afternoon. The sky was low and sullen, as if weighed down by its own sorrow. The narrow dirt road twisted through fields of dead cornstalks until the broken gatepost came into view. The house sat on a slight rise, its silhouette hunched against the horizon like a monstrous beast at rest. Windows were boarded or shattered, and a sagging porch sagged further with each gust of wind. The front door hung ajar, its hinges groaning like a warning. I parked my car and grabbed my flashlight and camera bag. My breath puffed in icy clouds as I crossed the threshold. Inside, the air was stale and heavy, tainted with long-dried rot. My footsteps echoed across the creaking floors. Each muted thud sounded like a heart beating in the distance. I swept my flashlight beam over the foyer. Peeling floral wallpaper hung in strips, and the remnants of a dusty chandelier swung gently from the ceiling. As I ventured deeper, the hush felt hollow, as though the very walls were listening. I checked my phone. No signal, of course, and shrugged. That was part of the appeal. The living left signals behind. The abandoned stored only memories. In the parlor, a faded sofa sat upright, its stuffing spilling like entrails. An overturned rocking chair lay in the corner, its motionless blades balanced as if the chair had paused mid-creak. I felt the urge to leave, but my pulse thrummed with excitement. I set up my camera to record ambient sound and began exploring upstairs. The staircase splintered beneath my weight, sending shards of paint and wood to the floor. At the top, a long hallway stretched into darkness, punctuated by closed doors. I tried each one. One led to a nursery, toy chests gutted and scattered across the floor. A small rocking horse lay on its side, eyes painted black. Another opened to a master bedroom, where a cracked vanity mirror reflected my gaunt face back at me. As I leaned closer, I thought I saw something, no, someone, standing behind me. Startled, I whipped around, but there was nothing but a sliver of moonlight slipping through the broken window. My skin tingled. Goosebumps raced down my arms. I told myself it was just the shadows playing tricks, yet every instinct screamed that I wasn't alone. I gripped my flashlight tighter and pressed on, determined to explore the upstairs end of the house. At the far end of the hallway, an old linen closet door was slightly open. Inside, dusty sheets and moth-eaten blankets lay in disarray. As I stepped forward, a sharp snap reverberated above me, like the crack of a branch outside, or the closing of a hidden door. I froze. Hello? My voice sounded thin and distant. Silence answered, and for a moment, I felt calm, sure I'd been mistaken. Then, a faint creak echoed from behind the closet wall. So close, it felt like something was breathing against my neck. The hair on my arms bristled and I spun around. The hallway was empty, but just as I turned back to the closet, a hollow whisper drifted through the gloom. "Leave." My heart jolted. The word was so soft I might have imagined it. But my instincts, honed by years of exploring the abandoned, kicked in. This house wanted me gone, yet I pressed forward. On the floor of the closet, I spotted the polished handle of a hidden wall latch. Compelled by a force I couldn't name, I tugged it. The wall groaned open, revealing a narrow staircase twisting downward into absolute darkness. My flashlight beam quivered as I shone it into the pitch-black pit. I hesitated. Every rational thought told me to turn back, but some part of me, a part that craved forbidden truths, stepped forward. I descended. The stairs were slick with moisture, and the air grew colder with every step. The beam from my flashlight cut through the thick darkness, illuminating damp stone walls and tangled spiderwebs. The echo of my footfalls followed me like a ghostly companion. At the bottom, I emerged into a vast subterranean chamber. My light revealed rows of rusted metal cots lined against the walls. The floor was littered with brittle straw, and the smell of mildew and decay was overpowering. I pressed my hand to the wall. It trembled. There was a faint drip of water echoing off in the distance, slow, measured. Here, the hush was deeper, as though the very earth mourned something terrible. As I moved among the cots, I noticed scratches deep in the stone floor, as if something had been dragged, and then the unmistakable shape of childlike footprints in the dust, leading to the center of the room and disappearing. I followed them, feeling the temperature drop so low my breath turned to frost. In the center stood a small pool of water, perfectly still. I knelt beside it. My flashlight reflected off its surface, showing no bottom, only dark ripples, like the surface of an abyss. Suddenly, I heard a soft sob. It was almost imperceptible, like a distant child crying in the night. I strained to locate the sound, but the walls twisted oddly, distorting the acoustics. The sobbing spun around me, close, then far away. "Help me," it whispered, so plaintively it broke something inside me. I stood, heart hammering, and shone my light at the far wall. In the flicker, I thought I saw the silhouette of a little girl standing behind one of the cots. She wore a filthy white dress, and where her face should have been, there was only a shifting mass of darkness. 2 glowing red specks like coals burning in the void. I stumbled backward. "Who are you?" I choked out. She tilted her head, and the red specks pulsed. The sobbing ceased. Then, with unearthly speed, she darted up behind me. I whirled, swinging the flashlight, but she was gone. Fear surged through me. I ran back toward the staircase, but the entrance had vanished. The wall I'd opened was solid stone. Panic clawed my chest. I pounded on the stone with my fists. The whispers began, rising in a chorus of frantic voices. "Don't leave me. Stay with us. Join us." I pressed my back against the cold wall, trembling. The pool in the center began to ripple violently, as though something huge had stirred beneath. The water turned inky black, and a hand burst from its depths, bone white and skeletal, reaching toward me. I screamed and dashed to the nearest cot, dragging it across the room to wedge against the wall. The hand found its way around the cot, fingers raking wood and metal. I tore at its fingers, trying to break its grip, but it was unstoppable. I kicked at it, brittling shards of bone. Behind me, the wall began to crack, as if the entire chamber was shifting. I realized with terror that the voices weren't coming from the walls but from me, my skull rattling with a resonance that wasn't mine. I pressed my palms to my ears, screaming in agony. The skeletal hand broke through the cot's frame, reaching impatiently. I backed away, tripping over debris, and fell to the ground. Above the pool, the girl's red eyes glowed brighter. She chuckled, a sound that echoed like shattering porcelain. The skeletal hand crawled up my leg, clacking across bone. Something inside me snapped. I clenched my fists and forced my eyes shut, willing the chamber to dissolve. When I opened them, the girl was gone, the hand withdrawn. The pool was calm again, as still as if nothing had happened. I scrambled to my feet and sprinted toward the center of the room, where the water lay undisturbed. Without thinking, I plunged my hands into its icy depths and shut my eyes. The cold flooded my veins, like drinking liquid fear. I felt a presence wrap around me, pulling me downward. I tried to cry out but found no voice. Then, as quickly as it began, it ended. I shot out of the pool, gasping for air, clutching the stone edge. My skin crawled with cold, and the air felt thick around me. I hauled myself out, dripping and shivering. The voices had quieted, replaced by a bone-deep stillness. I glanced around. The chamber seemed different. Faint lights flickered along the walls, like lanterns ignited from within the stone. They cast a sickly glow, revealing half-buried figures slumped in the corners, emaciated bodies draped in rags, their eyes hollow, their lips twisted in silent screams. They stared at me, empty sockets burning with silent accusation. I felt their collective sorrow weigh upon me. My legs trembled as I realized I was not the only prisoner here. They had been trapped, left to linger in this place long after the house above had rotted away. And now, I was one of them. I fumbled for my flashlight, its beam quivering across the corpses. One figure stood. It was not a child this time, but a man, thin as a skeleton, dressed in tattered gentleman's clothes. His face was rotted, but his eyes, sunken though they were, burned with recognition. "You found us," he rasped. "Now we can rest." I backed away, but the lantern lights flashed brighter, and the corpses began to rise. Their jaws opened in silent screams. The man extended a skeletal hand toward me. "Stay," he whispered. "Stay forever." I turned and ran, through hallucinations of crawling shadows, through walls that shifted like flesh. I burst through the hidden stairwell and scrambled up the twisting steps. The crawling hand reached for my ankle, but I kicked free and sprinted up the hallway. I burst onto the dusty landing, gasping for breath. The house above groaned, timbers creaking as if resettling. I didn't stop to think. I darted down the stairs, nearly colliding with the rocking chair. The boards beneath me shuddered with each step. The front door loomed ahead, but as I reached for the handle, I felt a cold presence press against my back. I threw open the door and spilled onto the porch. The world outside was quiet, too quiet, as though the house had swallowed all sound. My legs gave out, and I collapsed on the cracked concrete, clutching my chest. The sky had darkened. Heavy clouds rolled in. I looked back at the house. In one of the broken upper windows, a shadow lingered. It was the little girl, her head tilted at an impossible angle, her red eyes fixed on me. She raised a pale hand and waved. I screamed, scrambling to my feet. I ran without looking back, my heart a jackhammer in my chest. I didn't stop until the house was nothing but a dark silhouette on the horizon. When I finally dared to look back, the house was gone. In its place stood an empty field of dead grass, No gateposts, no road. Just an expanse of flat, abandoned land stretching to the horizon under a bruised sky. I stumbled back to my car and drove off without glancing at the rearview mirror. Every street lamp I passed flickered as if echoing the lanterns I'd seen below. The world felt off balance, as though I carried a weight that bent reality around me. At home, I reviewed the footage. Every clip of the downstairs corridor was corrupted. Static and distorted shapes flickered across the screen. The hidden stairwell was entirely absent. The only clear shot was the parlor, where behind me, faint outlines of children drifted across the floor. Their mouths moved, but no sound came through. I tried to warn people. I posted about it online, shared the photos and video, but most thought it was a hoax, another urban legend. A few claimed they'd seen the house too. They disappeared. Tonight, I lie awake, staring at my ceiling. At the foot of my bed, I sense a shadow shifting. I can almost hear the soft breathing of the girl. Her voice curls around my ear. Come back. I lock my door. I barricade the windows. But I know she's here. And soon, the walls will creak open. Because once you enter the Montgomery house, the house enters you. And the only way out is through its darkness. And in that darkness, no light ever truly shines.